Hey everyone, SweetJohnnyCage here, back with another guide for The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. This time I'm going to show you how to get through the second dungeon in the Dark World, the Swamp Palace. In order to get through the Swamp Palace, we first need to buy the flippers, and in order to do that, we're going to need at least 500 rupees. So in this guide, I will show you where to get 300 rupees very quickly. I'll show you where to buy the flippers, and then finally, how to get through the dungeon. If you already have the flippers and you're just looking for a dungeon walkthrough, please check the video description for a timestamp on where that section starts. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. From the Dark Palace, after you get the first crystal, you'll be able to see all the dungeons on your map. So we're going to go to number 2, which is due south. So that's where we need to head. So again, starting from the Dark Palace, we are going to go back the way we came towards the Golden Pyramid, or the Great Pyramid, but instead we are going to cross the previously blocked bridge. There's a bridge just near the pyramid that has a bunch of purple pegs, and we're going to be able to knock those down now that we have the hammer. And our first stop is to get 300 rupees from an NPC that is in a cave just a couple screens away from the dungeon. So we're going to do a little bit of back and forth here, but this is just the easiest, quickest way to get 300 rupees at this stage of the game. So if you don't have 200 rupees, or at least 200 rupees at this stage, I recommend going back into the Dark Palace, and if you didn't get all of the blue rupees that were on the floor in that sort of dark room near the boss room, you can go there. Alternatively, in the Eastern Palace, there's a 100 rupee chest that you may not have gotten. There's also a room with some more blue rupees. But as long as you have 200, you're okay. So once you are on this screen here, which is just south of the Dark World version of Link's house, there is a cracked wall here that you can bomb open. And then there is an NPC who has been turned into some sort of bunny. If you've been to Thieves Town at this point, he looks like an enemy, one of the bullies that can knock into you and knock your arrows and bombs and rupees loose. But this guy's actually friendly. So just talking to him, you'll get 300 rupees, and then you can leave, and then head back across the bridge, and we're going to go near the witch's hut, and then we're going to warp into the light world and get the flippers. So just traverse the bridge or knock the pegs back down, and then head north. At any point here, you could warp into the light world. We don't have the flute at this point, and I won't actually get that till we need it, but from here, we're going to just keep going north. But like I said, you can warp into the light world and make this a little bit easier because these enemies are a little deadly. But I think my mistakes are actually going to be a little bit helpful because there are certain locations in this game that will give you basically a full health restore. And I'm not just talking about fairy fountains. There are a couple of NPCs in the game that will fully restore your health. So I'll show you where one of those is in a little bit. So we're going to keep following this path here. That pile of rocks we could just run into. You may have encountered one of those while trying to get a heart piece near the sanctuary. But once we're in this area, we're going to go ahead and warp to the light world. And then once in the light world, we are going to head to this top right section here. And this is Zora's Domain. So before it was an actual really cool waterfall area in Ocarina of Time, it was a somewhat deadly series of rivers that you had to traverse. One thing that I do want to mention is that if you're not getting through here as quickly as possible, or as quickly as I am, rather, which is totally possible because it's a bit of a maze and there's some dead ends. What you can do is you can actually jump into the water and take no damage, and this will allow you to get some invincibility frames, and then you can walk through fireballs, walk through any of the Zora that may be trying to attack you, and yeah, you just use the water to your advantage. So you just got to run up to this waterfall here. King Zora will come out. He'll offer you the flippers for 500 rupees. And it would be great if the Zora would become friendly at this point, but they do not. But now that we have the flippers, we can traverse deep water. So if you have the flute, you cannot actually use it here. You do have to manually exit Zora's Domain. I'm really not sure why that's the case, but that's the limitation of the game. Okay, so following this path and going down the waterfalls, we can make our way back to where we were, and then just head out of Zora's Domain. So we're going to take our warp portal that we created with using the mirror. We're going to kill these, I guess, crab or lobster kind of enemies here, and then warp back. And you'll notice now that I'm down to 3 hearts. So we're not really in great shape, but that's okay, because I'm going to show you how to restore your health pretty quickly over here. This is a rock that comes alive. I had no idea, so I took a hit from a Dark World version of the Zora, which isn't great. Now we're down to 2.5 hearts, but never fear, because we're going to heal up really quickly at the witch's hut. So if you have gotten the bug catching net or a bottle at this point, I should just say, if you've gotten a bottle at this point, you can actually come to the witch's hut and purchase one of 3 potions. A red potion, which restores your entire health pool, a green potion, which gives you full magic restoration, and then a blue potion, which does both. But if you talk to the witch's assistant in the hut, she will give you a free sample of the red potion and restore your health completely. So that's just a nice way to do that. Alright, so now that we're back in the Dark World, we can head to the dungeon. And it's very important that you're in the Dark World at this point. There is a warp point near the dungeon that I will point out to you just in case you're not. But you do need to be in the Dark World to actually access this dungeon. But we do need to warp back into the Light World to pull a lever. And it's important that you do those two things on the same screen. Because if you pull a lever in this building, leave the screen, that area will reset. So you have to be very, very careful. So the warp point is one screen south of here. And then from here, you just want to go west one screen. And there's a warp point. If you're in the Light World, there's a warp point in there, sort of guarded by some pegs and some rocks. But there's a warp point there. So once you get towards this building right here, this is the Swamp Palace. But we are going to warp to the Light World because we need to go into the Light World version of this building. And once we're in there, we're going to pull a lever, release a floodgate, and then this whole area is going to get flooded, which is good for us. In this chest here are some bombs, but we don't need those. And if you're playing the Japanese 1.0 version of this game, either on a ROM or if you have the cartridge, like most speedrunners do, you can actually push those blocks and keep mashing Y on the mirror, and the block will disappear. It only works in that version of the game. Don't try it in the American version, which is the weird glitch. Okay, so now that this area is flooded since we pulled the switch, we need to warp back to the Dark World. And this will change the state of the dungeon. And if you went into this dungeon without having done all that, this room here will not be flooded. But now that it's flooded, we can use the flippers and actually move around the dungeon. So we got to kill these 3 enemies here. This will expose a chest, and then we can use this small key to go down a floor. So once in this room, you want to dash all the way south and lift up this final pot here for another key. And you can open this door here. In this room, you want to go down the stairs, and then we're going to get a key to open the door you see here. Lift up this pot for the key, and then head back down, and now we can go up this staircase and open this door. Once inside, you want to take out your magic hammer, push down the peg, and then you want to just walk into this switch here, and then that will cause water to come out of the serpent's mouth. And then we can exit, and this will flood this section of the dungeon, allowing us to traverse to the next area. So let's jump off that staircase, walk up the ladder, and then go into this room, into the sort of main or great room of this dungeon. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to make a mistake, but I'm kind of glad I did. So we need to open this door, but we don't have a key yet. So without the key, or rather to go get the key, we got to go to this room on the bottom left corner. Head in here. And then we need to get into this room that is down the staircase. And you'll notice that there is a sort of golden box in the middle of that room that randomly shoots fireballs. But it's not random. If you swing your sword, or if you run and expose your sword, it will shoot fireballs in your direction. So whenever those are in a room, don't use your sword. Another interesting tip is those ropes of fire. So it's like 4 or 5 fireballs in a row, and they sort of travel like a snake. Only the first fireball has a hitbox. So you can actually walk through every other fireball in the chain, and you will not take damage. It's only the first one, the head of that fire snake, that can hurt you. So always keep that in mind. They're not as deadly as they look. Okay, so hit the crystal switch, push the sort of switch to release the water, and then hit the crystal switch again. That's very important. You need to restore that crystal switch and push up the blue blocks. So make sure the blue blocks are up, and that is very important for a future room in this dungeon. Cannot stress that enough. If the red blocks are down, you're going to have to come back here and do this again. So now that that room has been flooded, you can follow the path and then go into this next section here. You want to push this block to the left, the one above it up, and then head up the stairs, and then go to the next floor up this staircase. Once on the first floor here, you want to push this block out of your way. Be careful. I just mentioned those fire snakes. That sort of hitbox tip that I gave you is only true for the snakes. It's not true for the ones that are attached to blocks that just swing around. So only the snakes have inactive hitboxes on the back end. You want to push that block you just saw there up and then fall down, and you can get the big key in this room here. So once we have that, we're going to head back to the great room, and we're going to open up the big chest for the hook shot. Okay, so you want to dash off this ledge, dash all the way south, and then walk your way back over. Okay. Jump back down to the water, swim over to this staircase, lift up the pot, and then head to the next room. Okay, now that we are back in the great room, you can walk up this staircase here, open the big chest, and get yourself the hook shot. The hook shot allows you to attach yourself to a whole manner of objects, but mostly you're going to use it against pots for the most part. So you want to hook shot over to that platform there, get the key, and then you want to now hook shot over to this area here, which has a locked door. If you ever lift up pots that you wind up needing to hook shot to later and they're not no longer available, you can just exit and leave the room and the pots will come back. So you want to lift up the pot in the top left section of this room to reveal a switch and then push the statue to keep it open, and that will allow you to go through this door here. A good weapon against these jellyfish is the hook shot. Even when they are sort of using their static electricity attacks, you can still hook shot them, no problem. Okay, so push this switch to reveal a drain, and then that will drain this pool here. You can walk down the stairs into this room, and then you're going to head north one room. Okay, and then you want to dash all the way to the right, and then there is a secret door behind this waterfall here. Walk through that, go up the stairs, and then up the stairs again. Okay, you want to dash through this room, then we're going to get into the room just before the boss room here. So you want to jump off this ladder, go to the right, and pick up this pot to reveal a key. And then you want to very carefully swim around these enemies here, and then use that key on this door here. Now we're going to fight this dungeon's boss. So once in the room with Argus, he's going to be surrounded by these sort of like jellyfish or pufferfish sort of things. You want to use your hook shot and pull one away at a time. They take 2 sword slashes with the blue sword or the master sword, but if you do have the red sword at this point, they will die in 1 hit. So you want to just keep working on that. You'll notice that they deal about 2 hearts of damage per hit, so it's a bit of a safety precaution. You can sort of pull one out and then immediately turn away from it. Just let it get a little bit away from you and then hit it twice. You want to make sure there's as much distance between you and the boss as possible while you're dealing with these sort of puffers. But once you get all of them off the boss, it actually gets a lot easier. He starts moving around the room a lot faster, but it's very predictable. So the boss is going to leap up and then drop on your location. So what you want to do is just pull out your sword, charge it, and then just keep moving in a direction, and the boss will basically land behind you. And then you want to just wait for him to bounce around the room, line up for an attack, and then just let your sword spin. This will deal 2 points of damage to him, and you'll be able to kill him in 4 or 5 sword spins. And that's it. That's the fight. It's very easy once you get all the jellyfish off him. It goes a lot faster. So that's it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to help you out. You can also join my community Discord server. The link for that is in the video description below. If you're looking for more guides for The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, please subscribe to the channel so you get alerted when new guides go live. If you'd like to support the channel monetarily, please consider becoming a channel member by clicking the blue join button below this video. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and on Twitch, and as always, I'm SweetJohnnyCage. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.